He
Yeah,
beats
yeah.
you even when you are dating.
Yeah.
But some people change. Some people
the
pretend.
guy
just
that didn't
because
beat you before, you can't let
this
them
one
have
wait,
the old
because
age.
Join us on Open Table.
Open table.
Open table. Hello, viewers. Welcome to the maiden edition. This is a podcast where we lend our voices to topical issues that touches everyone. So you're welcome to the show. My name is Izor, and
Osas.
I'm Okiki.
you're welcome to the show. For
Thank you,
today's
Izor.
show, we are going to talk on a very dicey topic. And this topic is domestic violence. Oftentimes, regardless of ethnicity, regardless of class, regardless of status, families all around the world face domestic violence on some level. And today we're going to throw more light on that, as in, what do you understand domestic violence to be? And how does it affect the everyday family? So I would ask most of the questions, and I know that my ladies here will chime in and give their own view. I'm going to start with Osas. What's your view about domestic violence and how does it affect the everyday average family?
Well, Izor, when we talk about domestic violence, we know domestic violence, domestic means home, something localized, and violence means something, of course, violent, something aggressive, and all that. And domestic violence in the home means where there is a lot of altercation between the spouses. There's bitterness, there's anger, there's physical, emotional, psychological abuse. But most times people tend to focus more on the physical abuse being the physical expression of violence more of. So yeah, that's what I think domestic violence means in the home.
Yeah, thank you for that. So, Okiki, do you think that domestic violence is categorized by race or class, social class? Or generally speaking, how do you categorize people that go through domestic violence?
I wouldn't want to say it's categorized based on class, race, or because looking at the ratio of incidences, stories we hear about domestic violence in recent time, I would want to say it cuts across different race, different age group presently. But I think I would want to say looks more like it's common amongst the rich than the lower class family. That's my own point anyway. I might be wrong. My thought is when I just think the rich really, because I think looking at issues in marriage generally, my point boils down to family interference, like your extended families. Like remember in the olden days, we had parents getting involved with their children's marriages, like parents knowing each other, getting involved. So when there are issues, then parents will get involved most time before it gets into something that might not, parents will come, but nowadays most families want to maintain, oh, this is me and my husband, this is my husband and my wife, like we don't really want the extended family to come into our affairs. And I think that's my own point and my view, like, okay, that might be one of the reasons that we have issues that could easily be settled by parents or maybe extended family anyway, getting blown and the marriage gets into something else, like getting dissolved.
So are you saying that the rich don't get their families to mediate? Or what are you saying?
I think, okay, I think Osas
Well,
has
I
something.
don't know. Okay, I agree with you on some points, but I think when it comes to issue of domestic violence, I don't think it has anything to do with level of financial status in the society, because a lot of issues of domestic violence is even caused by money. You know, lack of financial ability causes a lot of friction even in homes. So it's been known fact that money has been one of the major causes of marital issues and disputes in marriages. But I don't really think, I think it has to do with personality more of either of the male or the female of both spouses, you know, and that's one of the causes of domestic violence. But I agree with you too. Okiki, because when it comes to many years back in the day, say 10 to 15, 20 years in different climes of the world, we realized that family were more involved a little bit, not negatively. I mean, the positive involvement of families in trying to settle disputes between spouses, where if they are aware there's an issue between spouses, they try to mediate and try to make things,
Yeah.
advise and counsel couples. But nowadays, most people tend to, in the world today, they tend to want to like stay alone, keep their issues to themselves, away from good counsel, and at the end of the day, they are not able to handle it. And that's I feel, one of the causes that might have led to more, aggravated domestic issues in the home, bringing into violence issues and all.
Hey, and I think men these days need to get to the point where they realize, fine, we all know, especially from the part of the world where we are
We're
from,
from, yeah.
like men would always be men. They believe, oh, like I'm a man, you can't question me, you can't question my authority, like I have authority and things like that. But women these days are becoming more
self-aware.
self-aware
Yes.
of who they are. Like we are both involved in this marriage, then I think I have a say at two.
Yeah.
The fact that you are the head of the family as a man doesn't mean I, as a woman, do not have a say.
Yeah.
So I think men's reasoning has to, because before some things, most women, when you look back into the days of our mothers, a lot of them might face some of these things that is happening now, but they
Exactly.
don't
I
want
was
to
coming
leave.
to that point.
Oh yeah, I'm just staying with my kids. I'm
Yeah.
not leaving the man, because
Yeah.
it's a kind of stigma.
Yes.
You leaving your bum. Women these days do not care. Like,
Yes.
then no one, like, I can't tolerate this. I can't take this. Then
Yeah.
I'm done.
So that's why I think, because one of the analogies that Osas gave is back in the day, families would come and mediate, but the mediation was one-sided oftentimes. At least from where I was from, it was one-sided. The woman always had to, take the high road or stoop to conquer. And then the man was given a free pass. And so our mothers, I think, really kind of swallowed the bitter pill because for the greater good, but women of nowadays, they don't want to take exactly, so I know that sometimes it will seem as if we say domestic violence is gender specific. It's not really, because I've seen incidences where the women were the ones suffering. But we should also understand that domestic violence wasn't always a physical altercation. So a lot of our mothers suffered verbal abuse, emotional abuse, but for the greater good, they just, roll with the dice or try to swallow it, and I also think that in itself made the children that were growing think that that was normal. That's my view. So when you grow up in a house where the man is always slapping around the woman or talks down on the woman, a woman makes an opinion and they say, that's a woman. They say it that nothing good can come out of a woman. Depending on maybe other social exposure that child would get, that child can grow up tomorrow and think that, okay, a woman doesn't have a say. But thankfully for maybe education and more global awareness, women nowadays know that, okay, I have a voice. You can't just shout me down or talk me down. So when they see any kind of abuse, they push back. And then because women are pushing back more, it seems as though the incidences of domestic violence is on the rise. But I just think it's self-awareness for women.
But I would want to say most children then, might actually understand what's going on. But I think children then would have this in mind that mommy, just hold on. Like, that's why you see most time when children grows up and they start working, living well, they pull their mom, do you mind coming for Omugo?
That's
the mother, the mother will stay 1 year, 6 months, leaving the father. Like, so it's just a thing that I think mothers and the children were actually accumulating. Like, okay, I just need to bear this. At least my children are growing. Very soon I'll start reaping the fruit of my labor. And that's why I've been holding, like, you hardly see a daddy going for 6 months. Like, children will pull their mother to their home.
But is that a cure? Because I also see that as vindictive. I see that because it's almost as if back in the day, the mothers were like, okay, I'll swallow this thing now and then punish him when
Yeah.
he's 60 years old. So I think I don't think that's also good. I also think in that scenario, the man is not the one suffering domestic violence because the woman goes on a mugo, he's starving somewhere.
Yeah, but he started it, right?
Really?
Yeah. What do you think?
When you talk about domestic violence, you see, well, we have different types of violences or domestic abuse. Maybe we use the word abuse because um, when there's a marital crisis, it's beyond just the physical. There's physical abuse, emotional abuse, psychological abuse, even financial
Yeah,
abuse,
totally.
verbal abuse.
Yeah,
All
yeah.
these are all under what I'll call domestic violence in marriages, in homes. These children, as they are growing up, they witness these things. Some observe it, and in most homes, like that I'm aware of or that I have heard about, when a man is, let's use the man being the abuser now,
Yeah.
because women can also be abusers. So, viewers, we are not trying to be biased, but let's even look at it from this perspective. When the man is the abuser, most times you find out that the abuser tends to also abuse the children,
That's true.
one way or the other,
Yeah.
because when you are abusing their mom, they see it and maybe they're trying, daddy, don't do this to mommy, and if I shouts on them, hits them, but
Yeah,
it's not really
yeah.
there for them. So one way or the other, they feel that, withdrawal of their father. So that also builds a kind of rejection in their mind that, oh, daddy doesn't love us as much as mom. And because one party is abusing the other, the person that is being abused tends to compensate
Right, that's
by
true.
bringing the children to
Closer.
herself, in the place of
Yeah.
most mothers, trying to be the shield from the children. And the children now feel more love from one side than the other side. So, inadvertently, when they grow up, they most times tend to want to support the parents that was there for them, that they feel love them more. And that's why at the end of the day, maybe the mothers are the ones getting maybe the affection, the enjoyment,
And then the fathers are suffering
labor.
domestic violence.
Well, at that time, a man that does not want to suffer in old age should also help their family.
I agree with
when
you.
they are young.
Yeah.
And because if we're saying they are fighting of not eating, a man should know how to cook his food by
Of
himself.
course.
Ah,
Yeah, that's
oh,
what.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Is it a gender-based thing to cook?
That angle too shows that he has been abusing the wife domestically by not even helping in the house.
Oh yeah.
Although, yeah, there are some people that cannot even cook to save
Still
their
save
life.
their life. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I know. But nevertheless, it's still like a story of as you lay your bed, so you lie on it.
That's true. That's that. I think that word, what you just said now, really captures it. Because as you lay your bed, that's how you lie. It's the way you treat the woman in your younger days. That's how she would reciprocate as time goes on. So let's look at another angle of this domestic violence, because I know that people say popularly that hurt people that are hurting, they hurt other people. So do you think these men or women that are domestically hurting their family, their wives or their husbands or their children, do you think they are a product of an experience? What's your take on that?
The background, the family dynamics has impact on the children, because when they grow up, they tend to carry the genomic environment of that family,
Right.
and they carry it into their own family. Many people tend to, grow up doing things the way their parents did those things. So if a child is coming from an abusive family that has an abusive parental background, maybe the father fighting the mother, beating up the mother, and all that stuff, if the child can decide to, by not even know when he's replicating that characteristic, because that is all he knows, that is all she knows. And like some girls, like it's a girl child who experienced the father being abusive to the mother. She gets married, she finds herself being defensive because she's envisaging that this man might be as abusive as what I experienced with my father. So yes, definitely that background matters in, family dynamics in them people. It might be as a result, if people being abusive to their spouse, it might be as a result of their own childhood experience.
Awesome. So, Kiki, what do you think?
I wouldn't agree totally with what Osas just said, because I think a child from that kind of background knew what either the parent or the mother or the father experienced. So I think some children would want to be extra careful. I knew what my mom was passing through, like emotionally, how she felt, because most times children would be the comfort person for their parent. Yeah, mothers tend to get their children involved into, even children can see when you don't even tell
Get
them,
them
yeah,
involved,
get them
yes.
involved. Their children of nowadays especially are so smart and things like that. So I think that kind of child might want to grow up and, oh, I knew how mommy was feeling. I don't want my spouse to feel that way. And that kind of child would want to grow up into a more responsible adult. And so at times it doesn't work that way. And you see some children that grew up from a family where the father was pampering, the mother was never abusive, and the child turns out to be an abuser, right? And at times it might be the societal pressure, the kind of friends that child. That's why I think at times you need to know the kind of friends your children keep.
Associate with.
Yeah, because it might be from different family. Like, oh, the dad is always defensive, the dad is aggressive, then the child might start picking that kind of behavior.
The behavior didn't pick from his own family.
Yeah, children get
Well,
influenced.
I kind of take a different
children
I
get
kind of take a
influenced.
different tone. So I'm going to respond to that question with a story. Someone once told me a story of a man that was a drunk. He had a problem with alcohol. So he was an alcoholic, and he had two young boys. And over time, these two boys grew up to young men. One ended up as an alcoholic. One would not even touch alcohol, even as a social drinker. And they asked both of them, the first one, why are you an alcoholic? And he said, I'm an alcoholic because my dad was a drunk and an alcoholic. And then they asked the second son, why are you not an alcoholic? He said, I am not an alcoholic because my dad was a drunk and an alcoholic. So they both took different sides of the spectrum.
And they grew up together.
And they grew up together in the
Like
house.
one, I
same
would want to say one
environment.
is
So-
smarter, the other one does. Like,
Well, I really don't know now,
because
to be
one
very
can
frank.
differentiate good from bad. That's, I would want to say, for the child that didn't take the alcoholic part from his behavior
father.
from the father can definitely would not easily be influenced. Even
Yes.
can decide, oh, this is bad. I know it is
Yes.
bad, then I shouldn't do it. While the
Yes.
other one wasn't thinking that deep. For me,
He wasn't thinking that.
Yes, that's why people have different reactions to different environments or different scenarios.
Yeah.
You know, the way I will react in an environment will be different from even in the same environment. I mean, people have done a lot of studies, put two things in one same condition, and you see maybe different reaction from those, you know. And then we should remember that everybody is born with an inherent trait.
Right.
Some people are sanguine, choleric, melancholic, different. So you see the reaction or the reaction to a situation differ from child to child. That's why sometimes they say no two children are the same. Yeah. So it's true. Nevertheless, there is still, if that child that became an alcoholic found himself in a more positive environment, that child also will be brought up in a more positive, situation.
Yeah.
I will
probably end up better.
end up not being an alcoholic like his
but
father.
there's a probability that it might be an alcoholic, even if the parents do not take alcohol. It might be from friends, from peer.
That's
like,
the
so
external
at times
influence.
the behavior, like these things, traits might not even be from the parents. We see adults that that grew up in a home where daddy, this is mom, they lived together and even when happily, and when the parents even hear whatever, maybe what the child is doing to the spouse, they would be, where did you learn all this from? I never did this to your mom, so where's this coming from? Or I never did this to your dad. I was caring. We see women that become nagging, that do not respect their spouse, and when you check their parent, the mom might be kneeling to serve the dad food. I think it's influence at times. It might be.
Yeah, external societal influence is a major factor in some of these things. Some people are pressured by society, because of what they see outside. Sometimes it might be what you watched or movies, or maybe your friends, how your friend relates with his or her spouse, and you feel that, oh, that is the next best course of action. So there's a lot of pressure, societal pressure, that kind of what's the word now, that forms people's behavior and attitude towards different things. Some will see because they've read somewhere, oh, treat women like this, if not they
Yeah.
won't be submissive. Treat
Exactly.
don't all maybe on the side of the woman they'll say, oh, don't
Don't show
allow
her
your
your salary.
husband
Don't show
don't
her
show
your
her your
salary.
salary. And some people
Yeah.
pick up the negative influence from society
Yeah.
and they practice it or exhibit it at home. So
Yeah.
yes, I agree. From children is because of what they experience in their homes and everything. Now there are some that pick up all these traits from society.
Yeah.
So, viewers, what is your view? Do you think it's society that causes people to now grow up and become domestically violent, or you think it's inherent trait? We'd like to hear your comments. We're going to go into solutions now. Now that we've established, even though we did not agree on one view, but even though we've established that these are the possible causes of domestic violence, in your opinion, when a woman realizes that, or not a woman now, so let me not be biased, when there is an abuse in the home, what do you think should be the first line of action trying to curb it or resolve it? Should it be family? Should it be external, getting a professional, or otherwise?
For me, maybe because I don't know, I think it's the family. No, because when you are dating a man or a woman, you should identify. You don't have to go back to the man and say, oh, who is that person you respect? Who is that person you regard so much that can always talk to you when things go out of hand? You don't have to ask that question. So I think every woman should be smart about that. Every woman or man, when you are in the early stage of lovey-dovey, like you want to identify that person that you know your spouse respects so much. It can be the father, the mother, it can be a cousin, it can even be a colleague, it can be a friend, long-term friend, right? So you can always reach out. I think reaching out to that kind of person first and let the person speak on your behalf or talk to the person, call you guys together and let them know. Yeah, I think that might work. And if you think it's the father, it's the parent, let them know. So that might be a first action call. And if that doesn't yield any effect, you might go through go to the extended family, talking about the parents now. Yeah, the two sides. And after that, then that's when I think it has to do with getting a professional. Yeah, I think all those were family for me first before going to professionals. I might not be right.
No,
Osas, what
for
do you
me,
think?
family, well, it all depends on your family dynamics, because there are some families, extended families on both sides that could be very biased, that might not be the best. Or some of them, they don't even have a good marriage, they don't have good homes on their own. So my own take would be that the spouses should look and be mature to know, okay, the person that is being abused most times, because the abuser doesn't see anything wrong he's doing, so he doesn't even think he needs help. Most times it's the victim that is looking for help first and looking for, oh, who do I talk to? Who do I express and share? Such a person, if he or she wants real solution, should look within and see, look for somebody that is matured. It might not be family. If your family is, your parents or your extended family, there's a matured person that your husband might listen to amongst your family and who will be very neutral to an extent, then go to that person, talk about it to that person. But my own take would be more to go to either a spiritual leader, either you're a Christian church or mosque or Buddha, whatever. If you're religious, look for a spiritual leader, to your religious leader first of all, because that is where they'll kind of put you in line with your belief and tell you what might be right in line with your belief. And where that kind of situation might fail, yes, by all means look for a professional help, because even your spiritual leader might not know it all.
Exactly.
Most some
I was
spiritual
going to say
leaders,
that now.
yeah, they won't know it all. Some are not even
Having a happy home.
trained in that, yes, in that regard to manage marital issues. So the most important thing is go for psychological help. I mean, marriage therapy. Go to a counselor that has been licensed, a professional person that has will look at all the scope, that has more exposure to a broader view of what happens in marriages, who will be able to eventually maybe meet with you and your spouse and read the room, understand each person's temperament, and know where such situations are coming. And the person is not looking at you people with colored glasses.
Right.
The person is looking at you with by an unbiased opinion and is able to like cancel rights.
Osas, do you agree that at times some situations do not warrant all this gentle counseling? Oh, Mr. A, Mrs. B, welcome today. Some father will tell you, who did you learn that from?
Yeah,
who
so-
taught you that? Did you see me treat your mother like that?
Hold on,
He's a
hold
grown
on,
man.
hold
Yeah,
on.
but the respect, the father would be there. That's why you
Hold
know
on.
who
So
you marry.
let me put my voice to this. So first of all, I think, because we're talking about solutions, I believe in nipping things in the bud. So if in the dating phase, I also strongly believe that a person that is a habitual abuser, there are fingerprints of it, and this is not gender specific. It's both male and female alike. It would show in the dating phase. It's just that sometimes we are looking at our intended with love-colored glasses, and we don't see these things. That's why those that do marriage counseling or into relationships, they will tell you that watch the way he treats other people.
But people change.
Watch the way he treats
At least
other
in the
people,
beginning.
especially that's why I said habitual abuser. There are people that become abusers because of maybe situational pressures. But there are some other people that it's like
Already you have seen that sign. He beats you even when you are dating.
Yeah.
But some people change. Some people pretend.
The guy that
just
didn't
because,
beat you before, he can't learn left hand in the old age.
the guy wants that lady. If the lady was maybe one beautiful, it might not even be about beauty or maybe our finances. Men, as in, not, don't let me say, people change and situations might happen. The fact that you stay apart, when they move in together, that's when, oh, why did you drop this here? Oh, that's when they start, when they move together, start being in each other's space.
That maybe we're pretending in courtship, or maybe they
but
were
that's
okay.
all abuse.
Those that saw the red flags. So if you saw the red flags and you were too in love and you ended up in the ditch, there's another, that's my own view. I believe that couples, because it was something you said earlier that you don't necessarily have to ask the man who you respect. I believe that the dating phase is all about conversation. So if you don't have the nerve enough to ask your intended that, or who do you respect enough for me to go to when we get
there's
married,
an issue,
if you don't have the nerve to tell that man to find out, then that's a fundamental issue. Because I think that should be discussed at the
You
beginning.
don't even need to ask.
I don't want to ask.
Observe.
Yeah.
What if he tells me,
You
oh,
have seen the way
Uncle
he
A
talks about an
Yeah.
uncle.
Yeah.
It's not so much as an
A leader,
uncle, because
friend.
the uncle might not have a good marriage.
But they
He
can
might be a
advise
good
you
man,
on
but might not have a
Maybe the
again,
wife
the
is the
goal
issue.
is to have a good marriage.
Yeah.
So there was something, and I think I heard it in some marriage conference where they advised that young couples should find an older couple that would be like a mentor marriage coach to them.
But what if,
Because hold on now, because some of the fights that happen in the early days of marriage, they are trivial fights.
yeah,
All of us have been married for a long
that
time.
can be resolved.
But if you had met an older married couple and they say he said he wants to sleep at the edge of the bed and she said she wants to sleep,
they are pressing toothpaste.
things like that. They can tell you that, man, that doesn't mean anything because she's not expecting me. I said we should press it in the middle. She went and pressed the
she
end.
never listens.
Exactly, she never listens. So the woman or the man can go to this couple and say, oh, this is what my wife or my husband is doing. And then they would advise and say, okay, it's not that deep. But even if they find out that it is that deep, they will not say, okay, this is how to deal with it, because they would not be biased. They are not your blood relative. They don't have any ties with the couple per se. So for me, I would think that would be the first line. And then I am very touchy about using family for counsel.
Okay.
Because oftentimes, no matter how you say, oh, they would not be biased, they will be biased.
No, it doesn't happen in all situations.
Me, I will be biased. I just say my truth.
You never can tell now because you never can tell. Some in-laws are actually
neutral.
Neutral. They will let you know.
Yeah.
And for let me go back to the point where you talked about maybe the role model being married. At times we learn from others' mistake. the man that is being seen as a role model, or the woman might have made some mistake in at some point in their marriage.
That's
and
why
that
you
kind
leave
of
them.
They might not be together with their own
Okay, I
spouse.
get
They might
what
be
you mean. I
separated.
get what you
But
mean.
in this situation, they can say, "Do you know this is what cost me
my
my
separation?"
own
Oh, yeah,
marriage?"
that makes sense. That makes
These
sense.
things are not that deep. Don't
Yeah.
treat a woman, or don't do this to a man. It can lead to this. So at times, when you see people that are not like together, they might even like, I find fine. We all pray and hope that people don't learn from our own mistakes, right?
Right.
Yeah. So at times we learn from people's mistakes, and this is yeah. It's just like a way when people bring up children. Some people, I made this mistake, and this got us into this kind of problem. And people would. That's why you see, even when some women are pregnant, they want to talk to women that have been pregnant. What should I do during? What should I eat? Because I don't want to repeat that kind of So going back to the point where you talked about
The one with family?
with the one with some in-laws are actually sweethearts. They would let you know exactly, even if it's their own child that was at fault. There's this trending story that I heard, I think that was some months ago, where the lady called out. They are not actually married, but they've been together for some time and they have a child together. So the lady, it's a long story, but the lady called out the guy, saying different things. On social media, even talking about his financial situation, like he has nothing, he's just doing fake life and everything like that. Do you know the mother-in-law, even if it was me, like you said,
will be biased.
but the mother-in-law was actually begging, because she knows the real situation, for the lady to come out. That means she had been pushed. I don't really know their situation, but I think she had been pushed to the wall, because the mother saw everything. The mother was begging her and telling her to hold on. She's on top of this. She's going to resolve it. And the lady, I think after writing all the epistle, went online. People were joining her live, and the mother joined her live and was begging her, telling her to please take off that live, go offline, talk to me, go offline. I am begging you. I love you with everything in me. And that was the mother-in-law. Yeah. Now look at, and after a week, I saw the lady took the grandchild to the mother-in-law's birthday. The mother had a mini birthday celebration. She was so happy and excited. That's the mother-in-law putting it on social media. Oh, see who I have here, my daughter and my grandchild.
Oh, wow.
So that means the mother-in-law was not taking. Yeah, it's not biased. So at times you don't just conclude that in-laws will always be in-laws. Some in-laws would let you know. So in this talking about family interfering,
20%.
yeah.
You know why I'm smiling? Because I'm also thinking in another direction. The mother-in-law that was probably supporting or being like appealing to the daughter-in-law or the girl, the baby mama or whatever, to like, oh please, I support you. It might just be because the girl is a good girl, or the lady in question has good character, and she already knows that her son is a problem.
Yeah.
And probably knowing that this lady, the relationship with this lady is the one keeping him in check.
Right.
So if this lady calls him or cuts off that relationship, especially that they're not even married, if he's matured enough to get married, he might even just go haywire. So sometimes some spouses know, so parents rather, they know how bad character their kids
Can be.
So when they see a lady that is helping to manage, but do you hope that if that guy was being abusive to this girl, and the mother, because she begged or pleaded with the lady, intervened, but the guy is still continuously abusive, what should the lady do?
That's why I think it has been for them. I think it was about infidelity on the part of the guy. Like, I'm packaging you, I'm financing you, and yet whenever you have any little change, you just go out. Yeah. So in that situation, it's left for the girl to decide. Because for me, if she can cope, fine. At times it's not all about the in-laws. Like, you can't just become my mother-in-law loves me and I remain in a relationship that is not bringing me happiness. But at the same time, our parents might not want her to leave. Some people will say, what else do you want? Your mother-in-law loves you, your this loves you. Just manage, we'll talk to him. So I don't know, these things at times.
So at what point, because I'm listening to you guys and I'm saying to myself, at what point in all of this abuse trajectory is it advisable for the person that is being abused to leave that environment? At what point do you say, okay, I have to separate? It might not be divorce or whatever, but I need to remove myself from this environment to be able to deal with this.
Individuals differ and our cope mechanism differs. For some people, emotional abuse can get them mad, run them mad, like they just want to go, they can't cope. Some people would say emotional as nothing. you are not you are not physically abusing me. I can. Some would even have punches, and they will say, "Oh, I'll treat myself. I'll still package it."
Punch
Because,
you run, no.
some people
Yeah,
stay.
some people stay.
Yeah, because I want to
I
stay.
don't
because-
advise
like,
that.
some also it
Threat to
different.
life and limb.
Yeah, so it differs. Some people, their spouse might not be talking to them. They will be under the same roof. She might just be, he or she might be, as long
Silent
as it's
treatment.
silent
Right.
treatment, is as long as it's taking care of us financially, I'm good. Why some people cannot manage silent treatment? Like, I can't be in the same house with you and you won't talk to me. That can even cause mental trauma. Yeah, so it depends on the individual, how well you can cope. Some would not even wait till get physical before they think we need to talk about this. And some would.
What's your take?
My take on this aspect is anything that makes you that you cannot entertain anymore, anything that affects you psychologically. Like Okiki said, I agree. Some people they stay even until it gets physical, and some, unfortunately, even in physical abuse, beating, and hitting, and all sorts of physical attacks from one spouse to the other, will still stay. Some under the guise of, oh, because of my children. Some under the situation of low self-esteem. Some under the situation of financial incapability.
Yeah.
They don't know where to go to. They don't know how to do anything. But my own take is, please run for your life.
Yeah.
Irrespective, some are already handicapped by societal preachings,
Dogmas,
and myths. Oh, a woman shouldn't leave her husband. Oh, once you leave your home, you are wayward, or they look at you with a stigma. No, I think the world has come to a standard, and that is the purpose of this our discussion. That if you experience domestic violence or domestic abuse, depending on different stages, like you said, at what stage, at what level, because there's a
It's
rise.
a trajectory, yeah.
At what level? Not in the beginning, not because the guy just maybe you abused yourselves or somebody insulted you, you pack your bags and you leave. No, that's not what I'm trying to say. I'm saying when there is a consistent abuser in the home and it has either affected your mental health and you've tried to look for solutions, maybe reached out to counselors, reached out to people, either their partner, some partners are unwilling, there's nowhere you want to go, they will not follow you, they are not ready to expose themselves to counseling, they feel demoralized, they feel ego, they feel belittled by even you suggesting let's go for a counselor. If you get a spouse that does not want to go for counseling, that means he does not want help.
Definitely.
You need help. You need your life to be safe. It's affecting your mental health. It's affecting you psychologically. You're not functioning properly anymore, even if it's not physical with you. It has affected you. Probably you are working somewhere. It's affecting your productivity. Probably affecting you can't sleep well. In fact, as it's affecting your mental health, along the line, it's affecting you medically because you develop high blood pressure, which can lead to diabetes and so many other complications. Before you 10 years time, you grow older than your age, you might develop stroke, you can't even take care of your kids the right way. And another function is when this environment, you also have to remember your children being in this toxic environment.
Yeah.
Because psychologically it's affecting these children.
Yeah.
Yeah, whether the child is going to turn out right or wrong, you don't know yet because you don't know the impact it's having on these kids. So for me, in my opinion, once it's getting to mental torture, mental health issues, or physical abuse, the first strike, second strike, if you want to even stay after the first strike. After the second strike, pick your bags and leave.
Well said,
Resolve
ladies.
the solution from outside.
Yes.
Don't stay in that, oh, he will change. People will talk to him. If he's going to change, you leave that, remove yourself
That
from
dangerous,
that situation
yes.
first, and then let that reconciliation start happening from wherever you are.
Well said, ladies. So, viewers, there you have it. We'd like to hear what your opinions are. How do you think the best way to resolve or find solution in a home that is experiencing domestic violence? We'd love to hear from you. And that's it, what we have for today. Just remember that life is for the living, and only the living can experience love.
Yes.
Bye for now.